Hi, are you familiar with this feeling of actually getting disappointment from the advert you actually ran with the hopes of, getting sales? Or you are a professional, a consultant, or a business owner who actually sells with, webinars, which trust me, are a very, very good way of getting sales and getting good leads. And because when you run a webinar, you know what those people who actually register for your webinar, you know what they are interested in. You know that yes, they are interested in what you're doing. That's why they came to your webinar, and it gives you a much more laser focused what's it called, details on the kind of leads that you have. So yes, webinar is a very good way to run a campaign and also to get leads for your info product, your services, or your products actually. So now the thing is, you have actually put in a lot of money to run adverts and get leads for your webinar, and at the end of the day, yes, you got 300 people to register for the webinar, but then during the day of the webinar you were only able to count 10, 15 to 20 people at best, and that can be very frustrating. And even at that, you were only able to make just one sale from that campaign. You were able to convert just one person to join your community or to buy your service or your product from the whole campaign that you actually poured a whole lot of money into. And that can be really frustrating, and you repeat the process over and over again every time you want to make a sale. That is not a good way to go about it, and trust me, it's not pocket friendly. And there is a better way to go about it, and that is why I actually am bringing to you the webinar system that we actually have. We have the system that makes sure that everybody who got registered for your webinar gets reminded of your webinar every time till the very last minute of your webinar, to make sure, because life is busy and it's very crazy how things can just pop up at the very last minute and distract you from something that you're actually registered for. So it's very normal for you to have 300 people register for your webinar. Only 10 people later showed up. Some of them forgot, some of them lost interest, which is another problem when considering why people didn't attend the webinar they registered for. Some of them lost interest, some of them actually forgot, and some of them did just see any reason to, came up with reasons not to come. And these are all the major problems that you will have when it comes to actually getting people onto your webinar. And then even after the webinar, is another problem that will stop you from getting sales, which is people not seeing the value in the sale you have to, in the product you have to sell or your service. People are not actually convinced well enough, because you don't expect people who just met you and experienced you for 60 minutes to actually trust you enough to, give you the money every single time. That can happen, but you don't expect that to happen every single time. And the fact that it didn't happen immediately doesn't mean that you should actually let that lead go or lose the chance of ever having to be able to sell to the person. Another thing is that you are going to encounter the problem of people, changing their mind or not having the money to pay for that product at that present moment, and you lost that chance because you don't have any system in place to nurture them even after the webinar, to remind them before the webinar, and at the same time to make sure that they don't lose interest, to make sure that they keep getting more valid reason why they should buy from you or why they should register for your program or for your bootcamp or for your challenge or join your community. You don't have the system to keep them motivated, to keep them engaged, and to make them trust you. And that is exactly what we do. We make sure that all the people who registered for your webinar actually attend the webinar. We make sure that they see more and more reason why. Of course, not all of them might join, but we make sure that we increase the number of people that actually attend your webinar by at least 30 to 40%. And we make sure that you get the chance to run the webinar in a way that is going to increase your chance of success. Because many people actually, run webinars. They are good at getting people to come to the webinar, but at the end of the day, they lack the skill to actually make sure that those who are actually joining the webinar get convinced that yes, the solution they are offering is actually the best. And at the same time, our system ensures that even after the webinar, you don't lose any chance of converting a lead. I mean, you don't waste any lead that you've gotten. So for every $1 that you spent on that campaign, you are not wasting it. You are actually increasing your chance of converting getting around 40% ROI on every $1 you spend. And that is exactly what our webinar system actually does. And it's all built around email marketing. If you can find a way to remind your prospect that yes, the webinar you actually registered for is around the corner, and this is the reason why you registered in the first place. This is the reason why you shouldn't change your mind. This is the reason why it's very, very crucial that you attend the webinar. And at the same time, you find a way to run the webinar in a very smooth way, in a very structured manner that actually helps you to gain more trust and more chance of success from the webinar. And at the same time, you find a way to make sure that everyone who attended your webinar is still in touch with you, and that you still have a good chance of converting sales from every single one of those people who actually joined your webinar. It's actually a very powerful thing, and you would be surprised at how much sales you can make if you keep retargeting the same audience in a very smart and not pushy way, actually. And this is exactly what we actually do. We make sure that you get repeat customers for your e-commerce website. We make sure that those sales that you are missing out on, you're not missing out on them. I actually ran a laundry business when I was in the university, and actually I'm still running one, even though I'm not actively on site to run it. I have someone managing it for me now. But I noticed that then every time I send out a message, a broadcast message on WhatsApp, I get at least 1 or 2 sales. And sometimes it strikes me as to why I forget to send these messages sometimes, and maybe I am noticing a drop in the amount of sales we are getting. And I have a broadcast list of all the customers that we have, and I just send out a message to them. Most of the time it's not to remind them that we are actually still in business. Sometimes it's just to ask them how their day is going, to tell them to stay hydrated, to tell them to take it easy. It's a school environment, and to tell them that everything is going to be fine, no matter how hard school schedule is. And I realized that every single time I send out those messages, someone replies to me and say, "Oh, I actually want to wash. I've forgotten to message you, and I've forgotten that I have clothes to wash." And it surprises me. How do you forget you have clothes to wash? For those who have a lot of clothes, that happens. So, and trust me, when you realize the power in being able to stay in touch with your customers or with your clients, you actually don't want to stop. The moment you realize that yes, you can still keep making enough revenue from the clients you already have, it's actually a very powerful thing. So you will actually almost get more results than people who are actively always spending on getting new customers and and ignoring the ones they already have. So you are not increasing your advert revenue, and at the same time you are increasing your income. That came out wrong. You're not increasing your ad cost, but you are increasing your revenue. That is actually very powerful. So that's just about it. I will encourage you to make sure that you actually take this as serious as possible and get started with email marketing as fast as possible. If you have any questions, or you want to discuss your next webinar, or you want to run a campaign and you're not sure how to go about it, you can just click on the book a call button that is right below this video or beside this video, and then you'll be able to chat with me on WhatsApp. All right, I look forward to talking to you. Take care.